A baby's scream cracked through dustwood like a nail through dry wood. Sharp, sudden, wrong. It didn't echo off canyons or bounce from barn walls. It just hung there. Too human to ignore. Too hungry to leave alone. Thatcher Boone stood at the edge of the mercantile porch, his shadow long in the early sun. He said nothing. Just stared toward the crumbling barn behind the post-yard where the cry had come from. Folks in town were used to ignoring things that didn't fit neatly into Sunday prayers. But not him. He walked with the quiet weight of a man who never explained himself. Dust stirred behind his boots like memory, and when he pushed open the barn door, it gave a moan like something in pain. There, curled in the corner, was a baby wrapped in a torn petticoat, skin ash-pale, lips dry, crying like his throat was raw. No note. No basket. Just a swaddled ache left in the hay. Thatcher knelt beside the child, calloused hands moving careful as prayer. He didn't ask why. He didn't yell for help. He just lifted the boy into his arms and turned toward town. When Etta Lee saw him crossing the main street, baby against his broad chest, her stomach twisted. She'd been sipping watered-down coffee outside the boarding house, head low, pretending not to feel the town's stares. They still whispered about her. How she'd buried her husband too fast. How she kept to herself. How no baby had ever cried in her cabin. The closer Thatcher came, the harder it became to breathe. He didn't go to the doctor. Didn't head to the sheriff. He walked straight to her. Dust swirled in his wake like something stirred from sleep. He said nothing until he reached her. Then he knelt, a giant of a man, folded like a promise at her feet. "My baby is hungry," he said, voice low as river gravel. "Please, breastfeed him." Her throat locked. Her body went cold, then hot. She looked around. Mrs. Hensley leaned against the church fence, eyes squinted. Two boys stopped tossing their marbles. Every soul in Dustwood seemed to pause and watch. Etta shook her head, voice trembling. I can't." She hadn't nursed since the winter stillbirth that took her only child. Her body had dried up. Her heart, too. But the baby whimpered again, turning toward her chest like he knew her. One hand reached up, groping weakly toward her collar. She could have said no again. Instead, with hands that trembled like leaves before rain, she took the child from Thatcher's arms. He was so light, barely breathing. She adjusted her shawl, lowered her dress. And when he latched, when his tiny mouth found life again, she gasped. It was like something inside her cracked. Not pain, not shame. Something deeper. Her eyes blurred. She blinked fast. Thatcher didn't move. Didn't stare. Just sat beside her on the porch, silent and sure. And for the first time since her womb went silent, Etta Lee heard the sound of a child feeding. And didn't flinch. The wind picked up near dusk, stirring the dust like old rumors never fully dead. Etta stood on the porch of Thatcher Boone's cabin, the baby curled warm against her chest, breath soft and steady now. She hadn't planned to stay past that first feed. But the child had clung to her blouse with sleep-heavy fingers, and Thatcher hadn't said a word when she didn't leave. 3 days had passed. 3 nights of rocking him through fevers, of washing his small clothes by hand, of sleeping near the hearth with him tucked beneath her chin. She hadn't asked his name. Thatcher hadn't given one. It was as if naming him might shatter the strange, fragile magic between them. Inside the cabin, the rancher moved like a ghost made of warmth, chopping wood, stirring stew, fixing the roof where last rain had leaked. Always near, always silent, never once looking at her like the others had. He didn't thank her, didn't praise her. But he fed the fire when she was cold and left a blanket draped over her knees when she dozed. That was how he spoke. But peace doesn't last in places built on pride and shame. Near sundown, hoofbeats echoed down the trail. A deputy rode up in the red glow, stiff-backed, badge catching the light. His voice cut through the stillness like a blade. Woman's not kin. Town's worried. Baby can't stay with her. Etta stood, arms tightening around the child. The porch creaked beneath her bare feet. Thatcher stepped out behind her, arms crossed, face unreadable. Sheriff says she's to bring the boy to the mission house, the deputy added. Ain't proper. The baby stirred, sensing the change. He whimpered, eyes fluttering. Etta swayed slightly to soothe him, heart racing. Thatcher stepped forward. His shadow swallowed the space between them. No. The deputy blinked. Beg pardon. He's mine now, Thatcher said. And she's staying. The man scoffed. She's nothing to the boy. Thatcher's hand went to his coat. He pulled out a carved chip of wood, smooth on the edges, marked with 3 hand-burnt letters, E.L.B. He placed it in Etta's palm without looking at her. That's our brand now. She stared at it, throat tight. Boone's Ranch. Her initials. His mark, offered, not forced. I didn't earn this, she whispered. You did, he said, when you answered his cry. The deputy muttered something and turned his horse, but neither of them noticed. The sun was sinking now, painting the fields in gold and ash. The baby looked up and reached toward her cheek. Then, soft, uncertain, he said it. Not a word he knew, not one he'd been taught. Just instinct. Ma. The sound broke something in her. She dropped to her knees, holding him tight, her tears falling into the folds of his shirt. Thatcher knelt beside her. Didn't speak. Just laid a hand on her back. Steady, warm, grounding. And in that moment, she wasn't the woman who'd failed. Wasn't the one town pity whispered about. She was mother. She was home. Which city are you watching our video from? Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you.